Hi guys, welcome back to Twisted Locker, your definitive horror podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the best Stephen King adaptations, or at least our personal favourites. Now there's plenty to choose from. I'm sure we're going to do more than one part. What have you got for me, Jags?
Okay, first up, to be honest, apart from the number one spot, these two aren't really in order. It's quite hard to pick. In third place anyway, Green Mile, one of my favourites, and arguably Stephen King tends to have more luck with his adaptations when they're dramas. You've got things like Shawshank, Stand By Me, and Green Mile is one of my favourites. You could argue it's a bit too long. It could easily be a mini-series, but it is fucking awesome. I never cry in films, right? Because I'm so fucking tough, right?
Ooh, you're hard showing off.
The clown behind. And I didn't cry in this film, but I had a fucking lump in my throat. Oh my god! Right at the end, it's so tragic and brilliant. Don't want to give any spoilers. The way it is, 24 years old now, so it's a bit late. But Michael Clarke Duncan as John Coffey is so well cast, so pitiful and so terrifying. The size of him, he's meant to be 8 foot in it. Obviously, I think he's about 6'5", maybe in real life. He's dead now, but he was a great actor. Everything about that film, Tom Hanks's performance, David Morse's performance. I forgot. What's his name? Sam. Oh my god, I got a mental block. Sam Rockwell. Oh my god, how did I forget his name? But he is absolutely brilliant in it. Can't remember his name top of my head now. But everything about that film, I love. It is a proper 5-star movie, one of the best of the last century.
Yeah, absolute cracking pick, Jenks. Can't deny that. Green Mile is one of Stephen King's greatest stories. Do you know, right? Before that book was even finished, because it was a mini-series released weekly, I believe, or monthly.
Yeah, like a serial. I remember.
Yeah, so the film went into production. Stephen King had an ending. That's how confident they were in this story. So they started production on the film.
Is it?
Or at least started pre-production, got the rights to it, nabbed it up quick, and started working on the film.
The book came out in 96, and just like 3 years later, the film was out. So in movie world, 3 years is nothing from book to production. Yeah, you're right. It must have been like they must have jumped on it.
Yeah,
great. But what about you, Anker? What's your next pick?
Yeah, so my first pick is by far one of my favourite Stephen King adaptations. I absolutely love this film, and it's the fantastic Cujo. Now, this film, right, to me, I don't think it gets enough recognition for how great this movie is. Looking online, it doesn't seem to be getting that much love, and I think it's crazy. It's such a masterfully done film when it comes to suspense. Dee Wallace's performance is next level, and I know she's a well-known name, but I don't think she's nowhere near as well-known as she should be, specifically after this film.
Yeah.
What a cracking film. Everything about this film is amazing. The start's a little bit slow, but once it gets going and they're stuck in that car and they're being hunted by Cujo, it is just fantastic. And what makes it even worse is she's stuck in the car with her son, young son. It just makes everything worse. Obviously, you can relate, Jenks, being a parent as well. You couldn't think of anything worse. And the survival process as she goes through in that film is insane. And do you know what, right? And this is what's crazy, is Dee Wallace has actually said, right, that she had to take a break from acting after the film because she had PTSD.
Yeah.
Now, the brain doesn't really know what's real and not. So that's all the brain is seeing, is she's being constantly attacked by this crazed dog or a man in a suit at times.
Yeah. Answer me this. Was it two men, one on one end and another guy on the other end, like in a pantomime?
Hey, I'm trying to have an in-depth discussion here, right, about how great this film is, right? And you're ruining the mood.
Yeah. I love it.
There's no denial that this film is great. I absolutely love it. And reading into it as well, right? I haven't actually read the novel, but I hear the ending for the book is far worse. I'm not going to go into detail about that one, but that's my first pick. Jenks, what else have you got for me?
Okay, next up, this was close to being my favourite. It is one of the best Stephen King adaptations. I've read the book. I'm not a book snob.
A book? What do you want a book for?
To read.
So I do prefer the film, okay? I know there's a lot of book snobs out there. I do think the film's better. The book is brilliant, but everything there was, I saw the film first, then read the book. I tend to do that in that way more often than not, if I've got the opportunity, if the film and the book are out already. Because you have an extension of what you like. If you read the book, and then you go to the film, it's always a lesser version. But if you do the other way around, then you get a bit of an extension. The book is way too violent, and it's Misery. It's my favourite, second favourite Stephen King adaptation. And Kathy Bates is so brilliant in this film. She's so terrifying, and her portrayal of this bipolar sort of crazy lady, it's so spot on of these mood swings.
You murdered her!
No, I didn't.
Who did?
No one.
And I think the book came out 87, film came out 90, which is really fast track. And I think Stephen King was so bankable years ago that they were just jumping on his books. I think the gaps got a bit longer towards the end, towards later stage of his career. But Rob Reiner directed it. I don't know if you know much about Rob Reiner. He's a famous director. He did Stand By Me. He's the father in Wolf of Wall Street. His big fat father, the grey beard. That's Rob Reiner, the director of Misery. He's such a good actor, and he's so memorable in that film of the lovable father that's kind of putting up with Leonardo DiCaprio's antics. But he goes on, but he's made one of the best thriller horrors of all time, Misery. It's grueling. James Caan is brilliant, and still to this day, no matter how many times you see it, when she smacks his legs with the sledgehammer, the build-up, it's so good. In the book, she chops I think she chops his foot off,
with
or
an
both
axe,
feet off. Too graphic, way too graphic. Yeah, it's too much. You just want to kill yourself. It's I've had enough. But when you smash someone's feet, you think, okay, maybe some pins, I could get my feet back. So you've got a bit more of a drive to get the fuck out of there. But I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, there's no denying that one, Jenks. Absolute cracking pick. Misery's a fantastic film. You know, Rob Reiner was trying to poach Shawshank off Frank Darabont, and he wouldn't give it over.
Is it?
He tried and tried and tried, and he wouldn't give it over. And then that's when Rob Reiner moved on to Misery then. He's like, well, I got to do a Stephen King adaptation. So he moved on to that one. And in all fairness, when Shawshank was released, he watched it, obviously, and he wrote Frank Darabont a letter and congratulated him and said the right man got the job. But that's how Rob Reiner ended up directing Misery, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think I actually saw that in the documentary. What's your next pick again, Kate?
Yeah, my next pick, close to being number one. Now, I absolutely love this movie, and it's 2017's It. Oh my God, this movie, it just does absolutely everything right. Again, I can't talk too much about how much of a faithful adaptation it is. I've attempted the book multiple times. I'm not a massive reader, and I couldn't get through that absolute lump of a book.
You're a fucking disappointment.
It is massive. But I've always been a massive fan of it. The lore, everything about it. I think it's by far Stephen King's greatest story. You pointing to your t-shirt there, Jenks. I'll just show this off a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh,
He's got the t-shirt.
Well, that's not as much of a commitment.
I've got the ink, yeah.
Hang on. It's not much of a commitment. I put this on for my head. Almost messed my hair up.
I got ink, yeah. But obviously growing up, I was I was proper into it growing up as well. I remember watching it for the first time, and me and my friends going out into fields looking for him.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Just love the coming of age story. You can relate to it, a group of friends getting together and going out and trying to fight this monster. Yeah. And when the 2017 version was coming out, obviously myself, along with everyone else in the world, was anxious. Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise is down as easily one of the most iconic horror portrayals of all time. But Bill Skarsgård absolutely knocks this out of the park. Now, he's not in there loads.
Yeah.
They keep him. They keep him in the shadows a lot. But when he does come, he comes big. His performance as Pennywise absolutely blew me away. This film all round is just incredible, and I was actually worried, right, when it was announced that Andy Muschietti, if that's who you pronounce his surname, was directing this film. I was so nervous, and not to say that I thought he was a bad director, but he loves CGI. He's a massive fan of CGI.
Oh yeah, way too
And
much.
I gotta say, the only downside to it is the use of CGI. Sometimes it's off-putting. It doesn't take away too much because the rest of the film is just so good. Everyone is cast perfectly, and the horror is great as well. Specifically, if you're scared of clowns, it delivers on every level.
Yeah.
But his use of CGI in movies just isn't for me, and I feel like it takes away from a lot of elements of this one. But it still goes down as one of my favourite horror movies of all time, and one of the best Stephen King adaptations. What do you think, Jenks?
Yeah, it's awesome film. I love it. I love Tim Curry one.
Yeah.
Love the new one. Right, my last pick. I'd probably say Misery's a better film. I'd probably say Green Mile's a better film. This is actually a mini-series. Came out in 1979, based on a book, again, 4 years earlier, and it's Salem's Lot. Everything about this film I absolutely adore. It's about a town gets taken over by vampires. The children are getting picked off one by one. And David Saul, one of Starsky and Hutch, he's the main protagonist. And the main vampire, Kurt Barlow, is one of my favorite monsters of all time. He's so creepy. It's so much better than the book, because the book, Kurt Barlow is a bit more of like a Dracula figure, quite charming and handsome and seductive. This one is just an animal, based very much on Nosferatu. He is so frightening. He doesn't speak. He's got those eyes. They've cast a really skinny old actor. I can't remember his name now. But I love that film. It's got some of the most iconic scares. The little kid floating in the window, tapping the window. The guy in there, I can't remember his name now. He's on the rocking chair.
Yeah, that bit.
And he's like, "Look at me!" Oh my God. It's so terrifying. And it was a TV show. It was meant to be a movie. They did make a cut and I think they put it in the cinema, like a shorter version, because it was so popular. But it was meant to be a movie, but the book was too much, and it just did it justice. Toby Hooper is an awesome director, and this is one of his greatest creations. Massive, massive fan of this film.
Yeah, absolutely cracking pick, Jenks. I adore that just as much as you do. In the editing room, I will be dropping a photo of you dressed as Kurt Barlow for Halloween.
Oh yeah, I know.
one of the best Halloween costumes I've ever seen. Fair play. Right, I got my top spot.
I was uncomfortable.
Yeah, I bet.
Go on.
Right, I got my top spot. And it isn't so much, right, the best Stephen King adaptation, because it's iconically nothing like the book, said from the words of Stephen King. And it is The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's iconic masterpiece. This film, to me, just identifies wholly as one of the most, I'd say one of the greatest horror movies ever made in every sense of the word. From start to finish, this film is just insane. Jack Nicholson's performance. Yeah, so everything about this film, the carpet, the music, the rooms, the ghosts, I just love this film. I actually went and watched it in cinema a couple of weeks ago, and first time seeing it on the big screen. And I've been watching this film since, God knows, I watched this film way too young, and it killed me, specifically the woman in the bath. Horrible scene.
Yeah, terrifying. Yeah.
I've been watching this film on repeat since I was really young, right? And I went and watched it in cinema a couple of weeks ago, and it was like watching it for the first time, experiencing it on the big screen. Phil Yobs behind me shouting and yapping now and again.
She's a girl. Yeah, I got you. I got you on camera.
Did my head in. I don't know what they were doing in cinema at 8 o'clock at night watching The Shining. If you're not going to bloody watch it.
Yeah,
but
I know.
That aside,
disgusting.
Watching on the big screen was just a whole different experience. I get why Stephen King doesn't like it. Again, I haven't read the book. I've said that way too many times in this podcast. But I get why Stephen King doesn't like it. And I've watched extensive interviews with him talking about what he doesn't like, the differences between the book and the films. But I understand it, but everything he hates about it, I love. It's just Jack Nicholson as a whole.
Yeah.
He just doesn't think that Jack Nicholson suits the part. Steven Spielberg has also come out and said as well, who was very good friends with Stanley Kubrick, and he told him to his face that he thought Jack Nicholson was the wrong choice for the role. Obviously, over the years, that his opinions changed because you can't deny that performance he gives in that film.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
There's not much more I can say about this film that everybody doesn't already know, but it's by far the best Stephen King to film movie ever made.
Yep.
There we are then, guys.
Yeah,
that's all I got time for today. Just remember, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.